Good morning, everyone. I just want to echo what Father Gerald said at the beginning of Mass, asking for your prayers for a new bishop, a new assistant auxiliary bishop here in the Archdiocese of Boston, Bishop Cristiano Barbosa. And Bishop Barbosa actually was a professor of mine. I had about 4 classes with him. And getting to know him over the years, he really is a humble, holy, good priest, and such a blessing for our Archdiocese, especially Massachusetts being the largest Catholic community of Brazilians and Portuguese Catholics. So it's kind of a glimpse into what our Archdiocese is and what our Archdiocese is becoming, and it's a great glimpse into the future. It was a very, very joyful day. So yes, please continue to pray for him. You know, a few years back, I was scrolling through my phone on social media, which, to be honest, I do a lot more than I should, but I did come across a video, and what the video was a homily given by a priest who was preaching at a Mass for a newly ordained priest. This was the newly ordained priest's first Mass, and the preacher was a professor of his and a mentor. And in that homily, he gave advice to the newly ordained priest, but he also gave advice to everyone in the pews. And that advice was this: live your priesthood 5 minutes at a time. Live your marriage 5 minutes at a time. Live your joys, live your struggles, live your sobriety, whatever it may be, 5 minutes at a time. And when I think about that, as you know, most of you know, I'll be ordained a priest in just a few short months. And of course, I'm counting the days, obviously. And I'm thinking, looking ahead of what's coming, and it's exciting, and where they're going to send me, what parish I'm going to, the people I'm going to meet. And then sometimes I have to stop myself and say, in the here and now, I am here at Ascension Parish. I am here in this joyful place. I am here with all of you. And when you have joys in your own life, it's good to plan, it's good to prepare for our future, but sometimes we miss out on the here and now. We need to stop and say, I'm in this moment, here and now, and God has blessed me. You know, we're continuing with our message series, Honey from the Rock, and if we think of the rock as Jesus Christ, the rock is God, think of how much joy you could squeeze out of that rock, honey from the rock, in just 5 short minutes. You know, looking at our first reading today from the book of Job, this reading is very depressing, isn't it? There's not much hope in that first reading. And I think we can all relate to that first reading, right? When we look at that reading, we've all had days, or sometimes weeks, or sometimes longer, when we have what I like to call a pity party for ourselves, right? Sometimes the day is just not going good. Everything is going badly. Everything is going wrong. Or our week, something at work, something at home, something in our lives, it's just nothing's going right. And sometimes our human nature, and I think it's appropriate sometimes to have a pity party day, to have a day where we're going to say, no, nothing's going right, I'm going to feel a little sorry for myself. But as you know, eventually we have to pick ourselves up and we have to keep going. We have to keep going. And when we find ourselves in that state where nothing's going right, 5 minutes. What would you do with 5 minutes? As hard as it may be, give praise to God. Give thanks to God. You're here today. You're here on earth, and God has blessed you. And when we go to our gospel, the beautiful gospel from Mark, the gospel from Mark is talking about Jesus healing. Jesus comes in. Jesus brings hope. He heals Simon's mother-in-law, who was lying in bed with a fever. He goes to her, he heals her, and he tells her to rise, and she rises, and then she waits on them. And you might think, the first thing she does is wait on him? That seems kind of weird, but if we think about that in a theological sense, it goes much deeper. Because she was healed, she was blessed, and then she gets up and she serves the Lord. She gives praise to the Lord. She does work in his vineyard. And so, when our lives are good, when God has blessed us and given us so much, do we thank him? Do we say thank you? Do we look at just 5 minutes of our day and say, you know, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful gift that you have given me, this blessing you have given me? And if our day is not going great, everything is going bad, do we still thank God, as hard as it may be? Thank you, Lord. I'm struggling right now. I've prayed to you. I don't feel you're answering my prayer, but I know that you heard my prayer and you're answering it according to your will. Because sometimes we might not always see that prayer being answered, but the Lord has answered it in his own way. We might not see the fruits in this life, but we certainly will see the fruits in the afterlife, because we've stayed close to him, because we've loved him, and he loves us more than we could ever imagine. And so as you and I gather here this morning, think about 5 minutes. The joy you can squeeze from that honey in the rock for just 5 minutes. Give God praise and thanks always in your life, and we too shall be with him forever.